Hello, chat. Is the fit thing gonna be a joke every week? It's fine. How's everybody doing, chat? Chat, I don't know if we're doing so much learning today. We're kind of just chatting, you know? Yeah, I like the denim I wanted to wear today. It's a little bit warm in here for like a denim overshirt, but that's okay. I love a denim shirt. I love a denim jacket, you know? Connor hates my denim jacket. He hates it. I've had it since I was in high school, and I refuse to get rid of it. Mike is quiet. Mike is it like tucked in too much? Hold on, let me like move it out here a little bit. Or I can put it on let me try this. Is that better? Connor also hates pigeons, exactly. So his opinion is worthless. He's not a fashionista, that's also true. Haven't seen the jacket. It's a really like really pale denim. It's a delight. I got it at like a Gap outlet a million years ago. I was in high school. So. And it fits me as long as I don't wear anything more than a t-shirt underneath it. He does, yeah. Connor could get dressed in the dark and it really wouldn't make much of a difference in terms of his wardrobe. So. He won't let us get a pigeon ambassador. Silly. Love the water bottle. I actually also love this water bottle. Sorry, chat, we're just taking our time today. I don't have a ton. Natty Bakes, thank you so much for the 10 gifted subs. This water bottle is an ocean bottle, and my favorite part about it is that this part comes off. So it's like really easy to clean, which I appreciate. Yeah, it's nice. The sticker on the water bottle, this sticker is from a little local bookstore here called Lark and Owl. And it says just a little sweary. Not great for the optics. And then this one is from the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center, AK. So we love a bottle that's easy to clean. Yeah, especially because most people aren't cleaning their water bottles enough. That's a side note. All right, chat. Today, we're kind of just talking about fireworks. I need more bird stickers. I actually have a lot of bird stickers, and I have a lot of really cool bird stickers, but also I'm like one of those people that has to be like really sure when I put my stickers on things. I put a lot of stickers on my book cart. So, fireworks annoy me so bad, they sound like guns. They do. I was really hoping to come to you with, I appreciate that. It is a bit of an explosive topic. Sticker anxiety is real, it's true. I don't have a Hot Vulture Summer sticker yet. I should get a sticker book, but I don't want to have a sticker. I don't know. I do have a book cart. I can wheel it around, and I have all my book things on it, and it has a little tabletop that I can put my tea on. Would recommend. IKEA purchase. Finish the push pop puzzle. That's excellent. Too noisy for my sensitive ears. I watch footage of fireworks in the daytime. I've hated them since then. 10 and 10 pun really lit up my day. Really looking forward to all of the puns that you guys are going to throw into this conversation. I really did envision this one to be a little bit more of a conversation between me and you guys. So I was really hoping that, yeah, terrible for veterans. I was really hoping to find some really concrete evidence. Utah banned fireworks because we are on fire. Yes, that's good. My dog is more and more scared of fireworks every year. I'm so sorry, Joe. I love the sight of fireworks, but I was that kid that had to wear my dad's industrial ear covers because I hated the loud sounds. Yeah, I was one of those kids, like, I loved fireworks. I loved them. I loved the lights. I loved the sparklies. I loved when they lit up the whole sky. I loved, like, the big booms of the fireworks. And then I learned about fireworks as I got older, and then the magic was ruined. So obviously you guys are you're all talking about your own personal experiences with fireworks and your own personal pets, and that's exactly kind of where the conversation goes. I was looking for a little bit more concrete evidence in terms of, are you going to ruin the magic for us? I mean, that depends on how much you care about wildlife and companion animals and the environment to at least some extent. Drone shows are better for the environment. Yeah. Guilty pleasure. I viscerally still love them, but I recognize they're bad and don't do them at home anymore. Yeah, exactly, Joe. Like, it's just kind of a bummer. They still happen, and I've always loved fireworks, but now I know too much. So, toxic shit going into nature, simultaneously find fireworks entertaining still, but the drawbacks exceed the benefit of the fun for me now. Yeah, ruining the magic with knowledge. Yeah, right? We just get older, and we learn how the world works, and then we get sad. So, nobody tells you when you're a kid that you should just really live it up. Because you're going to get older and find out the truth about things, and then just be sad. Like I said, I did a little bit of research into this, and obviously, as you guys have said, the fireworks have had immediate effects and impacts on your animals. Joe said, my dog is more and more afraid of fireworks every year, which is, it's just compounding, which means that anything that sounds like a firework, or if the dog builds association with certain things, that they can come to fear those things as well, which is a really challenging thing for anybody who cares for animals. We can talk about some of the things that you can do to maybe help your pets during those times, but ultimately, obviously, it's just a challenging thing because fireworks are so incorporated into so many cultural events and traditions, and there are places that have banned them, which is a really cool thing to read. And obviously, there's things that I think we could take into further consideration. Quiet fireworks do exist. I read about those in Italy. Drone shows obviously exist. There's fireworks that are considered a little bit more eco-friendly that lack some of the chemicals and the heavy metals of traditional fireworks and pyrotechnics. So normally it's early bedtime, gabapentin before the show. Yeah, things like that. And what I did find was pretty concrete in terms of there is an immediate effect on wildlife, right? We know that the lights, the severity of the lights and the sounds have an immediate impact on local wildlife. That is true. What I was hoping to find was also some long-term effects that were pretty well studied, and that's something that's still, based on what I found, we just need to do a lot more on. But it's also really hard to do research on those kinds of, some of those things, and at least the species aspect of things, not necessarily the ground and the pollution aspect of things. There's also wildfires. Yes, I have a little note. Our sheep also get pretty scared of fireworks. I've never considered the lights, only the sounds. Yeah, anything unnatural, right? That's why one of the things that, when I'm here and we're talking about Connor working really late at night, he's got these big bright lights and he's got this loud music, and I'm like, hey, that's disruptive to them, that's potentially inhibiting their rest time, because we're here all day. So resting during the day for these guys might be a little bit more challenging. So also taking away that time at night is not fair. So taking their welfare into consideration, anything unnatural, those lights, those sounds, is going to potentially be disruptive to an animal. And these guys are a little bit different, right? I mean, these guys aren't breeding, these guys aren't worried about their resources like wildlife are. And we will talk a little bit about that as well, because the big thing is that fireworks, during the times of year that they are most of the time going on, they may coincide with migratory behaviors from animals. They may coincide with breeding routines and things like that. So they can have long-term effects potentially on the populations of those animals and on their reproductive success, which is something that is really worth a conversation. And due to the components of the fireworks themselves, we're going to talk about one of the chemicals in particular, but like I said, there are heavy metals. There's also the physical contamination of the environment. There's the debris contamination aspect of the environment, which I'm sure anybody who's been around people who have set off fireworks can attest to. And firework residue can linger in the air, the water, the soil, and the debris can be toxic if it's consumed. So the whole gist of it is how do we maintain our cultural traditions without adverse effects of fireworks, right? So one of the other things that I read pretty immediately, a lot of this came from pretty much one article that was like collected all of the other articles that I found and kind of ran through it on a timeline and just on a basic informational level. In the human world, obviously, we know that fireworks are planned. You know, we get a schedule, we say here, the fireworks are going to be at this time. It's going to be dark because they're fireworks, which adds another component to wildlife. Like I said, that's a time when like most wildlife is resting. Not all wildlife, but most wildlife. So we know that it's there. We know that it's coming. Wildlife does not. And while there could be an argument made that fireworks could be likened to a severe thunderstorm or something else that's unpredictable like that, I wish my neighbors announced it. Yeah, it would be nice. And like people with young children too, they all wish, I think, probably that fireworks were a little bit different. Animals must be thinking 4 days a year the sky just starts exploding. Yeah, and you can imagine how stressful that might be if you had no idea what fireworks were. So we know studies have established that there is an impact on companion animals, despite the fact that these are animals that do live with humans and probably have some kind of tolerance to those anthropogenic circumstances, like the ones that are caused by human activity and influenced by human activity and things like that. So even those animals that live closest to us and live within the human world, we see stress responses from firework displays. Yes, due to the heat and the America 250 events. The heat, depending on where you are, can add a whole nother aspect of a challenge. Fireworks during Chinese New Year were originally specifically to scare away monsters and bad spirits. Mm-hmm. And they're still used sometimes to scare away animals. Like that is a thing that fireworks have been used to do, is to deter wildlife. So that's something to just know. And obviously the behaviors that we see in our companion animals, they can range from seeking shelter. You know, I babysat a dog, I think, during a 4th of July, or maybe it was just a severe thunderstorm, but even a thunderstorm, like those behaviors can range from like seeking refuge in an interior room, in a bathtub, in a shower, to literally, running into walls or trying to escape something. Last year, Connor and I picked up a dog that bolted during a thunderstorm, and she had been attacked, we think, by coyotes at night. There are purple martin roosts in the US and Brazil where people use fireworks to try to scare them away. Yeah, so like you can imagine, like these are a thing that we use to actively scare animals. So to think that they don't have an impact on wildlife is a pretty wild thing. I don't think there's anybody out there that's trying to convince anyone that fireworks don't have an impact on wildlife. It's just at what point, and this harkens back to what we said about, the Animal Welfare Act and the Endangered Species Act, at what point are these things that we're deciding, fireworks, considered harassment of those animals? And is that something that we've taken into consideration when we figure out where we're putting off these displays and things like that? It's just people do not care. Yes, okay, well, we're gonna try and get away from the hopelessness of the situation. And we're just, like I said, this is just a little chat. And there are certainly people who do not care. But then there's you guys, and you guys care. And we will keep fighting the good fight and spreading the word about fireworks. And this is something, too, that I think really, like, a lot of, like, little local organizations put on fireworks. Like, I know where I grew up, it was, like, the Scotia Rotary, like, funded the firework display at our local park. And that's something that, like, on a local level, you may be able to have a little bit more of an impact, where you could do a petition and you could maybe get that changed or encourage a different avenue that is more respectful of companion animals and local wildlife and people with young children or veterans and all of those things, right? There's certainly things that I think, so much caring right here, yeah. There's certainly things I think that at a local level we probably have more of an ability to impact when it comes to things like fireworks. Missed the beginning, but here now. Cool, you didn't miss much. We're just chatting today about fireworks and the impact on wildlife. I do have some studies that I wrote down that we can talk about, but again, it's it requires, I think, a lot more research. Chat, I have like one hair on my head and I can feel it. Those of you that have hair on your face, you know what I'm talking about, and it's just annoying. Sorry. So I do have a couple. In 2019, a survey in New Zealand shared that 74% of companion animals, ranging from horses to small mammals, displayed fear responses to fireworks. I hate it when it gets on my arm and I think it's a bug. Yeah, sometimes you can use your glasses if you have glasses to like, you know, but yeah. I hate those hairs. I want to shave my head. Yeah, if I had more confidence, I probably would shave my head as well. I would get on that train, but won't be me, but might cut it a little shorter. So 74% of companion animals in New Zealand, horses were a really traumatizing one to read about, because obviously there's reports of horses like running into fences and things like that, which is terrifying. A study of birds at a German zoo in 2014 showed that birds displayed increased nervousness and movement and withdrawal into their inside spaces during and in the hours surrounding firework displays. Which again, I mean, that's what those inside places are for, is for them to feel safe. But still, you don't like knowing, like, there's no good feeling when you know that your animal is going to be stressed about something. And you never really know the severity of how an animal's going to react. You know, there are birds, certainly, that fear, that have extreme fear responses that fly into walls, and you know, horses running into walls, and dogs bolting and things like that. The spectrum of behaviors that can be a response is really large. Again, none of this is shocking given that humans have used light and noise displays to specifically scare animals. There is a growing recognition of the impacts of fireworks on wildlife. In some places, this acknowledgement, in really eco-minded places, this has led to the banning of fireworks. So I learned during my research that in the Galapagos, fireworks are entirely banned to protect the wildlife there, which is awesome. Some places have a ban on consumer purchases. I know I read about North Carolina and Massachusetts, but obviously it's still possible to go out and purchase and bring back. Texas, there are no bans, to my knowledge. We see firework, like those little like pop-ups on the side of the road that sell fireworks to anybody. Most of the studies that have been done to assess the consequences of fireworks have been done on birds. Yay. Yeah, classic Texas. Yeah. As someone in Boston, people definitely still find them. Yep. Yep. So that's cool. Unregulated explosives. Yeah, Connor and I had a little chat about it this morning. If you were here this morning, you heard me say that if you lose a limb because you're setting off fireworks, you deserved to lose a limb. That's my opinion, not the opinion of Alveus Sanctuary. So most of the studies do have to do with birds specifically. There were 3 years of weather data that was assessed in the Netherlands that showed that thousands of birds take flight shortly after fireworks begin for New Year's celebrations. In Poland, Eurasian magpies roost together, but on New Year's, these roost sizes sharply decline in response to fireworks. In Switzerland, on Lake Zurich, waterfowl populations, including geese, ducks, and swans, plummet by between 26 and 35% overnight, and it takes days for these birds to return. Some of them don't. At Lake Constance in Germany, up to 4,000 birds have taken flight as observed during a September fireworks display. The Netherlands did just pass a ban for the next year of the new year, which is pretty sick. The Netherlands actually took up a lot of fireworks in the Netherlands learned about during this research, during this reading. There was an especially sensitive, the one in Germany, the 4,000 birds. They mentioned specifically that a lot of birds were molting at that time of year. And so it's wild to see those birds still looking to leave and putting forth that much energy to leave, given that their flight capacity is somewhat compromised, which is a wild, results in a much higher level of energy expenditure. And again, it took several days for these birds to return in most cases. The most traumatic example I found, which wasn't confirmed to be from the fireworks, I tried to find true confirmation of it. Joe might know about it, actually. Joe, the most traumatic example I found was in Arkansas after a New Year's display in 2011, where 4,000 to 5,000 red-winged blackbirds were found deceased. Ah, yay, kestrels! Happy for you, Tiki. So the cause of these deaths was a point of speculation for quite some time, but the necropsies of these birds were consistent with collision trauma. So they think it's likely that it was caused by a disturbance, potentially these fireworks that sent these birds up into the air at a time when they would not normally be flying in the dark, when their vision is not as good, and that they collided with each other. They collided with buildings, they collided with trees, and they literally fell from the sky. Which is devastating. So a lot of the articles that I read were like, it's very likely that this was the cause. Certainly, we've talked about the impact of disturbances, right? We could tie almost all of the things that I've talked about into this conversation with like the very beginning where we talked about olfactory senses in birds, and that very frequently it's not a smell that will get them to leave their nests or abandon their nests, but if the disturbance is severe enough or frequent enough, that certainly is a reason that birds could abandon their nests, which is why when you think about it, it can have an impact on their population at the time. It can have an impact on their reproductive success. So like I said, at what point do we recognize this as harassment of these animals if we can confirm that it is in fact a result of these fireworks that things are happening to these birds? Yes, molting, sorry. I think they were very confident that those birds, that's what I kind of also came to the conclusion of. Thank you, Joe, for confirming. So yeah, 4,000 to 5,000 birds just there, just that night in a small town in Arkansas. So I have never heard of these studies in Germany. All the discussion about potential bans on New Year's Eve is about drunk people hurting themselves or others. The more you stick around and the more we talk about things, if you were here during the kind of brief history of animal welfare, at least in the United States, is that a lot of the welfare acts that have been passed for animals started with the effects that they had on people. And that's how a lot gets passed through, is what are the impacts on people, not necessarily the specific impacts on animals, which is one of the things that we can certainly criticize about the acts that have been passed. I read a lot about that in the Big Cat Protection Act as well, and why it may not include small cats. That small cats are not as dangerous when it comes to human life as big cats are. So whether or not they were intentionally left out of the Big Cat Protection Public Safety Act for that reason or not, we've certainly seen the consequences of that where smaller cats are concerned, like Cassie. Right? That people can still have them as pets, and they still suffer the consequences, unfortunately, of not being included in the Big Cat Public Safety Act. And as we talked about, the Animal Welfare Act started off as an act to protect families whose animals were stolen for research. So again, how it comes back to people, unfortunately, is a big selling point, I think, in a lot of ways, which is a bummer. Yeah. Bonfires often, yep. We are constantly told to check for wildlife under bonfires. Oof. So again, we can talk a little about what we know about wildlife, right? And we've talked about this before, that wildlife, the way that they live their lives is much different than a lot of us, right? Than you and me sitting here talking on a computer screen, and we don't have to worry as much about our immediate survival. It's not dependent on our energy levels like it is for these wild animals, where conservation of energy is so important to their longevity. So when you set off fireworks, especially during like these sensitive times where breeding is happening, or if it's in the winter when food is more scarce, the energy reserves may not be there, right? They may not be able to reallocate those energies if they are disturbed, if they're in the air for up to an hour. That's energy that they potentially didn't have to spend in a fear response to something that is entirely human-based. So we know that flying is incredibly energy expensive as well. So it can take a really long time for these birds to replenish those energy stores if they do not, if the worst doesn't happen, which would be that they pass away for some reason. Another pertinent example was a festival that took place in Valencia, Spain, I found, in the months of April and May. And in this town, some of the festivals included firework displays, and some of parts of the town had no festivals at all. And what they found was that they looked specifically at the reproductive success of house sparrows, and they found, as they measured the ratio of juveniles to adults, that this population was higher in towns that did not have festivals at all. So again, removing some of that stimuli from these populations. Now, again, it's really, really hard to be like, it's the fireworks. What they did find, though, was that during 2020, when all of the festivals were canceled, the house sparrow populations equalized in those towns. So the ones that had festivals, those populations came up to meet the populations of the ones that did not have festivals. So that was a really interesting, little tidbit of information to read. Some places do ban fireworks during certain times of year. I know I read someone this morning mentioned that there was a breeding pair of bald eagles somewhere close to where they would set off fireworks, and they did ban them this year for that reason. Very reasonable to say that during breeding, if they have eaglets in the nest, birds can fledge too early, which can lead to injury or fatality, unfortunately. There have also been some studies conducted on marine life, so on sea lions, harbor seals, and sea otters, that suggest it's more than just birds that have these reactions to fireworks, though the potential long-term reproductive consequences of it haven't really been studied in marine life. A study in December of 2025 aimed to assess the short-term impacts of fireworks sounds on marine species, specifically in South Africa. So these would be on wildlife that would be expected to have some sort of tolerance for anthropogenic activities and sounds. These also are animals. There's a number of them that are threatened or endangered, marine coastal species in this area. They focus mostly on Cape fur seals and heartlab's gulls, and they used video and acoustic data during firework displays, and they found that both species increased vocal production as the fireworks concluded, and they suspected likely that the birds took off, and the reason that the vocalizations picked up was so they could continue to find each other and locate one another. And the fur seals shifted from a sleeping state to a state of increased vigilance as the display began. The effects on these animals did appear to be relatively short-lived, but again, the question posed is what level of behavior shift constitutes harassment of this wildlife. And again, these were animals that would expect to have some sort of tolerance for anthropogenic activities. What did I miss? Fireworks killing bald eagles would be so horribly ironic. There are so many things that kill bald eagles that are unfortunately horribly ironic. Bald eagles are still persecuted illegally. So, Big Ol' Rascal, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. We talked a little bit about that during the Bald and Golden Eagle Act too, right? That people still intentionally hunt bald eagles for their feathers to commodify their feathers. And I mean, bald eagles, they're big birds, and people don't like to have them around their pets, for sure. For sure. Despite the fact that there is obviously some wildlife that thrives around humans, there are, animals like foxes that thrive in urban environments. We do still see these animals, again, animals that are expected to have some sort of tolerance for some of these human events. We still see stress responses from them as well. I saw a juvenile bald eagle on my drive home the other day. I love that. I love seeing bald eagles. It never gets old for me. I'm assuming military jet air shows have same or similar effects. I would imagine anything of those loud, booming activities. We have a protected bald eagle nest around our local park. Love that. It's amazing how many people don't like having crows around. I love them. I love them. Bald eagles are an awesome success story. I almost was going to talk about bald eagles today. We can talk a little bit about them. I was almost going to talk about them. So even animals in urban settings have exhibited hormonal reactions, and there have been studies on urban animals. The example that I found was the western bluebird, where chicks were smaller and had poorer body condition when they were exposed to anthropogenic noise and light. So again, just effects on reproductive success and potentially the health and development of young birds, for sure. Urban animals, on a side note, also show higher levels of bioaccumulation versus, we're not talking about biomagnification here, they are not the same thing, but bioaccumulation refers to the buildup of a toxin or a chemical in a single organism over the period of its life. So bioaccumulation can lead to biomagnification, if my understanding is correct, which I believe it is, but we're referring specifically to one animal when we talk about bioaccumulation. And then also, separate from wildlife, so for our animals here, the only one that we've not really seen in terms of firework displays and how he'll handle it is Kasi. We do give the wolf dogs gabapentin the night of the July 4th because wolf dogs, foxes, it's just easy and it just helps. It's just an anti-anxiety medication. So we'll be watching Kasi on cams to make sure that he's okay. And like I said, the canines are the ones that we take precautions on just to be safe. They've never had issues, but during July 4th and New Year's, we tend to just gab them up as a precaution. So, but we keep an eye on everybody for sure. Is July 4th loud around LAS? It can be, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Gabapentin typically doesn't have a great flavor. But we could certainly maybe reach out to our veterinarian about that. We can open up his kennel for that night, so he has a little place to tuck in. Gab him up, yep. Yeah, it's not the worst, but it's enough for us to take precautions. My cat hates it. Yeah. Cats can be tricky guys when it comes to medications. My dog has Gab and Trazodone. Yep, that's what we give the foxes before their physicals usually. GABA is the best. Yep. It's all, individual. Some animal, like I said, the spectrum is huge for responses to fireworks. I know some humans who take GABA too. Yep. I had a cat that was on like 6 medications twice a day, and she did phenomenal with them. She was great. Will you guys give Kasi GABA? We'll talk to our vet about it, and we'll see if she thinks it's a good idea. I've never known the pasture animals to have negative reactions. I don't know. The donks are rowdy a lot without the presence of fireworks, so we'll have to see if they get extra rowdy. Any concern for the birds? Birds are always a concern, always. In the future, it might be worth keeping them contained into the smaller spaces, which we may do for like the parrots because they're insulated and it'll dull the sound a little bit. Goddess Abby, thank you for asking about Joyce. Unfortunately, we had to let Joyce go, so she did pass away a few days ago. Donks were a lot this morning. That sounds like the donks. Yeah, it was a tough time. This is the first time I've really been on stream talking since then. Thank you. You guys have been very gracious, letting me just casually mope around for a few days. Foam earplugs, yeah. It's okay, chat. It's all right. It's okay. It's okay. We have talked about a permanent veterinarian in the future if we have enough for them to do. And we have spoken to our veterinarian about it. So it's been floated, but we're not at that point yet. My cats have never been they've never been too bad about fireworks. I tend to try to run my cats before bed so that they're a little bit more sleepy. So I might just give them a little bit more playtime before the fireworks. Misty and Stormy. I've seen pictures of those cats. You'd have to ask Jacob about Gidget. He might be here. Officially purchased the Pasture Pals poster and Alveus hoodie. Love that. Thank you. Any advice for kittens? I would play extensively. I would tire them out. And then, you know, maybe find a space that's a little bit more insulated from some of the noise. I read a little bit on one of the websites, like it was like a humane society that had suggestions about fireworks, and people were like, you can play videos of fireworks, like on a quieter setting, and provide reinforcements in the form of treats in hopes that that might help. Remember to keep yourself calm as well. That's gonna make a huge difference if you have young kiddos. Jacob is always watching. She'll get a gab this year just to be safe. Gab her up. We are hoping to house Mexican gray wolves and red wolves. Put movies on. Yeah, you can put on background sounds. We call them audio barriers. So lots of little things that you can do to adjust in your personal space. For sure. My cats will also get gapped up. Everybody's just talking about gabbing everybody up. I'm very excited for all of the birds. Mexican gray wolves and Mexican wolves, I'm assuming, you're talking about the same animal. But I would have to look it up just to be very, very sure. How do you and Connor stay motivated to work so much on Alveus? I know it's a job, but do you also just love it? I love it most of the time. I think we're just excited, you know, about the potential differences that we can make. And I think that's really motivating for me and for Connor. We have that in common. We come from like that generation of people that were like, go out, make a difference in the world. And then like we grew up and we were like, how? And I think this is the first time we've really felt like we can, which is really exciting. So. How will wolves go back into the wild without parents? So the Mexican gray wolf program right now primarily releases pups, and the way they do that is they try to time, they hope that the timing lines up with a wild pair that has pups, and they will go out into that den and they'll place some of the captive-born pups in that litter, and the wolves typically will just care for those pups. So they still have parents. Oh, Connor's here. Hello.
Hi.
You okay?
I have an announcement.
Okay.
I finished it off stream.
Okay.
We can check it off the list.
Okay.
I've completed the bird of prey plan.
Wow.
And I blue taped it all and have everything but like perching, because I just want, like, we're just gonna feel that out when we're in there.
Yeah, and it'll depend on the individuals going in.
Dan Man, mark it off the list. So, bird of prey plan complete. It's gonna be huge.
It's gonna be huge.
It's actually way nicer than I thought. Actually,
I'm excited.
They'll probably take like 1 or 2 days to like clean up some things, and then we've got to relocate some black widow spiders. And build water features and put in perching and wait for Sparky Nick to come for power and AC, and we're done.
It means Coconut's getting a new home soon.
Yep.
That's what it means for Coconut.
I think I picked the enclosure. It's really, it's a little bit, it's between the largest, it's the second one. So
From the left?
Yeah.
For the crows?
Yeah. It's not as big as the other one. Like, it's big, it's just more narrow, but way more shaded.
Yeah.
And way more smaller branches for them.
Nice.
So I think that's where
Awesome.
they'll end up going.
I will not be moving the spiders, no.
So I think, we'll see. I'll get your opinion.
Oh,
And
that's
then
fine.
for that one secret one that potentially might not fly well,
Okay.
I think we'll put that one in the second to the right. So not the one right next to the barn.
A little
or
more
the-
space for them.
Yeah, but it's just enough removed from the carnivore cafe that they're not gonna.
Chat, I'm not afraid of spiders. I just don't like them close to me. I like them away from me.
So,
No, thank you.
plan complete. Sorry to interrupt. I was just really excited. I'm gonna go eat lunch now. Text me.
The crested caracara is not the one that potentially, maybe, hypothetically can't fly.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is a different one.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, which that one is confirmed, too.
They're both confirmed.
Yeah, we have 2 confirmed.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that crested 6 months crested caracara will go on the biggest one.
Confirmed. She's coming. It's
the
official.
Hypothetical.
I can talk about it.
We're still calling it hypothetical for
Okay.
funsies, but it's confirmed.
These are conversations that would benefit us to have off stream so that I don't just come out here. Because, like,
No,
somebody
like-
asked me if I was excited about the caracara, and
Yeah.
I was like, am I allowed to say that I'm
Yeah,
excited
you
about the
can.
caracara? Or am I going to walk into a trap where I've leaked something unintentionally?
6 months. 6 months old caracara, yes.
She's
In-
beautiful.
In the big enclosure to potentially house with turkey vulture or another caracara, or both,
Or both.
because that space is probably large enough
For several.
for 3.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do more than 3 though.
Probably not.
So
Also, training is going to be a whole time if there's 3 very intelligent birds in that space.
it'll be a fun time. All right, sorry. I will leave you alone. Thank you. I was just excited.
Are you excited about the vulture? There's not a confirmed vulture. Not yet. But I will be. I'm excited about the caracara. I don't know what I don't know how much I can talk about her. I don't know. It is a she. She is 6 months old. I am so hyped for Coconut to get a new home. She is basically a baby. I don't know if she has a name. We have not named her. We know she has an injured femur. Okay, so yes. So, all right, whatever. She has an injured femur. The break was pretty substantial. So this bird is not released because of her leg injury, although that injury eventually in her life will probably require medication. Like as she gets older, she may develop arthritis and things like that from that break. That is expected. But she can fly. The reason that she is non-releasable is because of the extent of that injury. She had to be handled a lot. So she did become habituated to humans. You guys know how imprinting goes with birds. She probably was out of that imprinting stage, but caracaras are super clever and they are so smart. So just her being as habituated as she is to humans would make it risky to put her back in the wild. I think she fell from the nest. Oh yeah, no, so she was young. She was not quite hard pinned. I think that's what they said in the email. I'll have to double check. But she was very young and she required extensive handling to help her through her injury. So, she will not be a releasable ambassador. She will be with us. She can fly, yes. She is not coming from World Bird Sanctuary. But the facility that has her wanted caracaras can be vocal, and they make very cool sounds. Would recommend listening to them in a video of any kind. There are not any releasable ambassadors, no. They are all non-releasable. ABI does have a Caracara, LaRue, and he's very cute. He's very handsome. He also had a really extensive injury that required a lot of handling. LaRue did. Oh, I don't know. Actually, I don't think it was an injury. I think he was hatched with some sort of weird condition that required a lot of work, I believe. Both crows are moving. A caracara, a crested caracara, is a falcon. They don't look like falcons, but they are falcons. We're excited because Coconut will benefit from the enclosure, probably more. Like Abbott will also benefit, but like Coconut will especially benefit, which is why we're talking about how excited we are for Coconut. But they will be moving together. They will remain together, Abbott and Coconut. Okay, look, I did say we're getting a falcon because technically crested caracaras are falcons, but they do not look like the falcon you envision in your head when you think of a falcon. Like, they don't look like kestrels, they don't look like peregrines, they don't look like prairie falcons, none of those. No aplomatas, not your traditional falcon. They look kind of like a mix between a falcon and a vulture. And, Leon Deer, thank you for the gifted subs. 20 gifted subs, thank you so much. They are so pretty, they're so cute, they're much better adapted to walking on the ground. They're fascinating birds. And if you want to learn more about them, I highly recommend reading the book that we read for book club, A Most Remarkable Creature. It is a great book. And if you like audiobooks, it's narrated by the author, which I think is awesome. Like, it genuinely was so enjoyable to listen to. So 100% would recommend that audiobook. Secretary birds are so cool. I worked with a caracara for about 5 years, yes. And he was one of my favorite birds in the world. Is one of my favorite birds in the world. All you can think of is caracara oranges. That's funny because when I see caracara oranges, all I can think of is crested caracaras. The new crow enclosure is in a less central area, so they will be less exposed to any loud noises, which is one of the reasons we are so excited about it for them. The book is called A Most Remarkable Creature. There are non-crested caracaras. There are many different species of caracara, yeah. The book specifically focuses, I believe, on striated caracaras that are native to the Falkland Islands. I think there are like red-throated caracaras that I don't know if they're red-throated or red-headed. I'm not sure. But they feed on wasp nests. Crested caracara, striated caracara, red-throated caracara. yellow-headed caracara, mountain caracara, white-throated caracara, black caracara. There's so many. There is not a moving date for the crows. We will tear down the previous enclosure, and I will dance on its grave. We will not miss the crow enclosure. We do not like it. Do we have sparrowhawks? So interestingly enough, when I started working with birds of prey, people very colloquially refer to kestrels as sparrowhawks in the US. I don't know if they still do that, but not the sparrowhawks that I believe you guys have in the UK, if that's where you're from. That's the place that I've heard sparrowhawks the most often. So cannot confirm. There's, I think, 7 species of falcon that we have in the US. I think it's a kestrel, the kestrel, the peregrine, the merlin, the aplomado, prairie? Ooh, guys, I'm out of practice. Species of falcon in the United States. Now you're just doing my research with me. 6 falcon species. Oh, the gyrfalcon. Sorry, chat, I let you down. Super frustrating. Unbelievable. Kestrels are so cool. We have plans to destroy the crow enclosure and build something new in its place. Let's see what this list says. Okay, this list has the gyrfalcon, the peregrine falcon, prairie falcon, aplomado falcon, merlin, kestrel. Okay, so interestingly, this list does not include the caracara, so 7, I was correct. Kestrels are so cool. Would recommend learning about kestrels. They're fascinating little birds. Super powerful little guys. We flew one at Dollywood, and she was one of probably my favorite birds to work with. Her name was Aleda, and she was so cool. She was so cool. She was so fun to work with. And she was so chatty because she was imprinted. I've been to Dollywood a bunch. That's crazy. I used to work there. Are you guys gonna fly the new caracara? I will have to get to know her first. Why is it that imprinted birds are much more chatty than regular birds? Because they're begging for food. Most of the time, that's what they're doing. Like, when they see humans, they associate humans with food, like a baby bird. Oh no, you guys are gone. Hold on, now I'll just use my phone. This is why we keep my phone up. I never met Dolly, but everybody that I worked with did. I think Lindsay's met Dolly. I was supposed to meet Dolly a week before COVID started. And then COVID happened, and they were like, no more. So, no Dolly time for me. Oh, you're back. Cool. Is there a reason a caracara is getting the biggest enclosure? Because we don't really intend on having anything particularly huge over there. I mean, caracaras are not small birds, but there is a good chance that caracara could be housed with other birds as well. based on their social dynamics. So there's a chance that a vulture could live with the caracara. So it would be more than one bird in that space. Again, there are no confirmed vultures. But there may be multiple birds in that space. So that's the thought process. I promise you, if there was a confirmed vulture, I would have a very hard time keeping it from you. Working in Dollywood is amazing. I'm kind of jealous. There are videos on YouTube if you feel so inclined. They're there. Probably with a vulture named George. But yeah, no, there's no confirmed vulture. The species, the other species that we have is not a vulture. Yeah, we used to say the crested caracaras look like a vulture, a chicken, and a falcon. Or a hawk. We didn't even say falcon, we said hawk. Because their beaks are very different as well. So, would we put them in a different enclosure? We would have to potentially have like a smaller space within it. We just have to see. We'd probably talk to our contacts at World Bird Sanctuary for advice on introducing, because we never did it at American Eagle Foundation. We really wanted to introduce one of our vultures to one of our caracaras, and our vultures were a little bit too, not imprinted, but they were a little too forward. Through a protected barrier. So we were like, yeah, we'll not do that. Late to class, it's not really a crazy, we're really just talking at this point. I didn't even finish talking about the things that we were talking about, which is fine. We had talked about the wildlife part of it. Obviously, the other part about fireworks has to do with the pollution itself. As a result of fireworks, the air pollution, which dissipates fairly quickly, but can still cause irritation and inflammation, especially if you have asthma. Hi, that's me. And then one of the chemicals that they're looking most closely in when it comes to fireworks is something called perchlorate, which contributes to the explosion and the lights of fireworks. Yeah, debris from fireworks is insane. Yep. And perchlorate is also water soluble and stable and can make its way into bodies of water, which means plants, trees. It ain't easy being wheezy. It's true. Amphibians, insects, mammals, and fish. It has been recognized as a major health concern as it can inhibit thyroid functions in amphibians and reptiles and mammals. So it can affect the development of those, potentially to affect the development of those in high enough concentrations. This is something that I just barely skimmed the surface on. So I would have to do a lot more digging to confidently talk about it with you guys. But as with most things, at least with humans, it's the dose makes the poison. But obviously it's different for species like amphibians who absorb things through the environment. So I am not confident talking about the effects of perchlorate, but it is listed as something that they are concerned about. So why storks and cranes aren't birds of prey. I appreciate that you said I would know better. The birds of prey taxonomy is a wild ride. It's changed even a few times, vultures New World vultures have been in a few places. Storks and cranes I don't believe have ever been included, but secretary birds, yes, secretary birds just got put in. They're now considered birds of prey. It used to be an anatomical distinction, and I don't believe it is anymore, where it had to do with the fact that they use their beak and their talons to hunt and neutralize their prey. And now, because of the New World vultures, I think it's a little different, because New World vultures do not use their feet in that way. So New and Old World birds of prey. So New World refers to birds that are native to the Americas, and Old World refers to species that are native to Africa, Asia, and Europe. So we talk a lot about new and old world vultures. You'll hear me talking about that. Caracars are so leggy. Pelicans are terrifying, for the record. So I need to look more into what the distinction is for birds of prey now. Tiki, thanks for hanging out. Have a good day, night, wherever you are. Yes, falcons are more closely related to parrots than they are to other birds of prey. It is crazy to think about. But when you look at parrots and you look at falcons, you're like, I see it. Pelicans are terrifying. Seeing them eat like small birds is so scary. Like, oh my gosh. And pigeons. Are macaws birds of prey? No. No. I love seeing pelicans. Have you guys seen that crazy, there's a crazy BBC video of a peregrine falcon like taking out a group of pelicans, and it's awesome. Not taking them out, but knocking them all off their balance because they flew too close to her nest. And it's awesome. Would recommend watching it. It's very dramatic, as all nature documentaries are, but taking them out to dinner, yeah, right to the water. But it is crazy because like pelicans, like weight distribution is so weird and specific that like she just like grabs their beak and just whoop, and they just can't recover, so they just like plummet to the the water surface. Oh, I don't have a favorite nature documentary. I just like watching bird things. Bird things, I'm a favorite. What's my favorite animal? Vultures. If I had to pick a favorite vulture, it would be the Egyptian vulture. But I love all vultures. There's some pretty heavy flighted birds out there. I think Andean condors are the heaviest flying birds. Hello, it's great to have you here. Which individual vulture is my favorite, Ben? Is my favorite? Like, out of the vultures that I know personally? An Egyptian vulture named Bob. Andean condors, yeah. I was so sad to see that Indy in Denver passed away. I'm so happy, though, that I got to see her not long before she went. Out of the vultures I know personally is such a flex. I mean, I know a few. I'm very lucky. The wingspan of albatrosses, yes. I think wingspan-wise, they are the largest flying bird. Albatrosses. I think the wandering albatross is up there. Oh yeah, somebody said it. Wandering albatross. I think they're up there. I think they win out against the condor. I think their wingspan is up to like 12 feet. Albatrosses look like they belong in some sort of twisted dark fairy tale. Their faces are so like crisp, and they look so severe, but they're so beautiful. Mm-hmm. All bird babies are Muppets. They look wild. You can't even tell what species they are half the time. We do not handle the scorpions for their benefit. Scorpions are fairly delicate, and if they are dropped because somebody were to get spooked or something like that, a drop, it can be fatal for one of the emperor scorpions. So we do not handle the scorpions. We just make them very cozy and show them off in their habitats. And we're here for scorpion PR, so if the scorpion did get offended by perhaps a silly decision made by a person who is holding them, the scorpion would take the hit, not the person. So, and again, we are promoting positive scorpion PR here. Yeah, a drop can be fatal. Some spiders, yes, that does apply for some spiders. I think it also applies for Hank, the our millipede. Is it common to see vultures as pets? I hope not. I've never seen people casually keeping vultures as pets, so I would hope it's not common anywhere, but I can't say that I've looked all over the world. But people, unfortunately, have pretty negative perceptions of vultures, so hopefully that helps them in this specific case. Sounds like the worst pet ever. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend a vulture as a pet. I truly would not. Yeah, vultures do suffer from a PR problem. It is true. But there's a pretty loyal, positive vulture PR team. Those of us on it are very passionate, I can tell you that. I would say that the media absolutely affects people's views on birds. Vultures for sure. You also hear vultures, often people refer to politicians as vultures as well, again with that negative, just negative connotation, that vulture is bad, vulture is evil, vulture is dirty. Red kites are so beautiful, and I love them. People are so scared of birds. It also makes sense. Like, birds are just very different from... Vultures are literally the nicest. They wait until you're already dead before swooping in. I love that so much. I used to be scared of vultures. Why are you scared of vultures? We can talk about it. This is a safe space to talk about your fear. My hope is that I can change your mind. Birds in general, like when people see them, they just aren't as expressive as mammals. So a lot of people, and they move differently, right? Because they process the world so they process so much more than we do. So their movements can appear quite jerky. You see it in Stompy sometimes. Like people are a little bit hesitant to approach Stompy because they can't predict how he's going to move. So a lot of people have that same feeling about birds and, like, you know, some reptiles, snakes. You just can't read them as easily. So people are very, very hesitant. Birds are dinosaurs. We'll talk about it at some point. It's pretty cool. You also just like don't hear about vultures, right? When you hear about animals that need help, because they aren't presented as charismatic as bears or big cats or, you know, insert species. They have the same problem that insects do and reptiles do. Like, you don't see them on your calendars, you know, that you get. They're not out there. Because people don't think they're beautiful, and they don't think they're charismatic, and they don't think they're pretty. They think they're ugly, and they're nasty, and they're dirty, and so. Geese can be very feisty. Once again, I will take it to my grave. Geese are everywhere because we planted their favorite food everywhere, and then we get annoyed that they're where their favorite food is, which is entirely on us, and then we get too close to their babies, and then they defend their babies, which is entirely justified, and then people are like, wow, geese are mean. And geese are just doing geese things. So any animal that is defending its babies are gonna be mean. Humans included. So, yeah. Don't get too close to the geese. They're just out there being geese. Hello, fish bomb. I love that. The Turkeyville try I met on a school trip 20 years ago still sticks with me. Love that. Yeah, sneaking up on animals is not nice. Not like you're not nice, like it's just not a nice thing that nobody wins when you surprise them accidentally. It's just a tough situation for all parties involved. It's Canada's color. Oh boy. Yeah, Tipsy prefers men. Icon. Yeah. Swans are also have a bit of a reputation out there. Yes, they do. I had to catch one on the side of a highway once. Would not recommend. Vultures absolutely are affected by lead. It is one of the biggest reasons that the California condor population was threatened the way that it was. It is. Cannot comment to the timeline for Tipsy and Mia yet. We have a lot of things we have to work through with Tipsy, which I will happily explain at some point, but yeah, a piece of lead the size of a grain of rice is enough to kill a bald eagle, an adult bald eagle. How do they get lead exposure? Typically lead shot or lead sinkers, fishing sinkers, where lead is not illegal to use. Lead shot, so a lot of times lead shot can be left in remains. Vultures eat remains, carcasses. So a lot of condors, yeah, no longer use lead while fishing. Yep. Oh no. Running up. Yeah. Parents. Can crows make human sounds? Yes. Crows can mimic. I used to work with a crow that used to say hello, and he said, "Hi, Tuck," which was his name, and he said, "What? What? What?" Just like that when he was overstimulated. I do not know about the vultures at the Waco, Texas Zoo. Do I want to? I'm scared to ask. White-tailed eagle? That's incredible. Yeah. Tuck was super sassy. It didn't take much. Like, there was a day that we moved our refrigerator in our kitchen, and we used to let Tuck out to just wander around when we were doing things at the end of the day. He would just come hang out. And he came out one day after we had moved the refrigerator, and he looked at where the refrigerator had been, and he just stood there and said, "What? What? 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 What?" Environment changed. He said, "I know it was here." Where is it? Mia was flirting with all the guys yesterday. That sounds right. We brought him to rehab. That's good. We started with fireworks impact on animals and it evolved into bird talk. Sorry, guys. No PowerPoint today to keep me on track. Hope you don't mind. I don't even know how much we have left. We mentioned perchlorate. I was going to mention, as we've all mentioned, the trash that just comes from fireworks that doesn't get picked up because people. And of course, fires. Fireworks can cause wildfires, which is also significant when the climate is doing what it's doing. And also the fireworks are an incredibly lucrative business. And despite that we are learning about the consequences about fireworks, typically the purchasing of fireworks is up and up. So, solutions, local bans that respect sensitive times of year for wildlife. That's a personal add-on. Drone shows, eco-friendly or silent fireworks that don't use as many chemicals or heavy metals. Keeping displays in urban centers, because obviously the closer you are to kind of those urban centers, wildlife tends to be further out. So just kind of giving yourself a little bit of a buffer. Smaller displays. Things like that. Yes, the colors do happen from metals. There's not a tremendous amount of information about heavy metals as a result of fireworks, just that they are there. But they haven't specifically been like, this is what happens to them. But surely, yeah, they go somewhere. And typically the colors, yeah, they are a result of heavy metals being put into those canisters. However, they are built. Oh, that's so sad. Yeah, you see my walkie-talkie. Nobody's quacking at me today. Ain't no way. Surely they affect amphibians. I couldn't find specific studies on that, but it would make sense. Same with the perchlorate. Yeah, there is a little bit of irony. Yeah, that there. We've been having droughts and fires in Florida. I'm not excited for the 4th. Yeah. It's a stressful time, that's for sure. For a lot of people, for a lot of animals. I almost went down a wildfire rabbit hole. And then I was like, no, Kayla, not today. We'll talk about wildfires some other time. Yeah, it really, you can start with any of these environmental questionable things, and you can just find yourself like, oh no, now I'm thinking about the environmental impact of mining heavy metals. Yep. And then you're like, that can take you down a whole nother thing. And that can take you down a whole nother, and it's just, it's a journey, and you got to figure out. I was like, I have to stop somewhere. I have to stop somewhere. The Parsi religion. I used to talk about those when I was in, I used to talk about sky burials when I was in Nepal. Mm-hmm. There are many places that have revered vultures. The Egyptian vulture was one of them. It was highly revered in ancient Egypt, to the point where if you hurt a vulture, you could be penalized by losing your life. Yes, sky burial. Vultures are a part of essentially end-of-life ceremonies. So people would literally go right back into the food chain by being consumed by vultures. So in the same way that, in the same vein, so people have this idea that they associate vultures with death because they eat dead things, and they don't associate them with life, which I think is unfortunate because they are the recyclers of death. Can you talk about why bird of prey feathers and other body parts have to be examined and returned? I've always been curious. So with feathers protected, so in the United States we have the Migratory Bird Treaty Act and we have the Bald and Golden Eagle Act, and both of these protect migratory bird species, which is essentially just protects all native bird species. And the problem with keeping feathers of these birds of prey, of native species, is that you can't prove how you got these feathers. So I did a lot of reading about this online the other day. I don't remember why. I was down in a different rabbit hole, talking about specifically, like, because there are some people who are like, I just go collect feathers. Yeah, the law is not, for legal purposes, I cannot say this, but like, you are not the concern. You should not do it legally. But the concern is that people go out and find these feathers and they create a market for them by selling them and making money off of them. So the consequence is that when you have these feathers, you can't prove that you didn't harm a bird to acquire it. And you create, by commodifying these things, a market for them, which means you create you incentivize going out and killing these birds to sell their parts. In that respect, the blanket is on everything, with the exception of like specific, like legally hunted game birds and indigenous, surprisingly loophole room, indigenous populations that are still legally allowed to have these things. But even as a facility that worked directly with bald eagles and golden eagles, and they did molt those feathers, even we who like were responsible for caring for those birds could not keep those feathers legally. We could apply for educational permits to keep some of them to bring to programs, but we could not just keep them because we were caring for these birds. So even we as a facility that cared directly for those birds, we had to collect their feathers, and if any of them passed away, we had to send their whole body to a repository in Colorado that is then responsible for sending out legally, like permitted, and for sending those parts to where they can be legally. If that makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. In Canada, you are allowed to apply as an Indigenous person to receive already deceased birds, yes. So, interestingly, the permanent for the feathers that they had on the Ask Kink Anything episode, parrots do not fall under, well, not our parrots. They don't fall under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act because they are not native and because people have them as pets. So, because people have parrots as pets, it's hard to regulate those feathers. And Stompy and Noli are also not native species. So those feathers, we can just pick them up and take them places. Probably not out of the country. Don't do that. Don't transport feathers in and out of countries. You can still, so chat, it is important too, that like handling pieces of wildlife is not dangerous, but like you can, like, that it's wash your hands. Crows are protected. I'm gonna have to do like a real deep dive on the the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. We can have a very specific discussion about feathers. Let me break it all down. We'll revisit it another day, because it is a lot, and it makes sense. Starlings are technically an invasive species, which I think is why it's fine to have their feathers. I believe. I'd have to double check. I do have talks for the next 25 years. Yeah, the hardest part about the talks is finding because I would like to tackle some big topics with you guys, but I need time to like assemble those things. And I could just break them up into like lots and lots of little talks, and we could just cover a little bit of information every week. Because even if I don't have, I had 3 pages of notes today. I've been talking for an hour and a half. So like we kill time. We find a way. So we can see. I would like to tackle some big topics, but finding time week to week is tough. We're working on that. I'm working on that. A little work-life balance. So. Oh, I don't know as much about turkeys. I do know that Benjamin Franklin wanted the turkey to be our national bird. Avoiding politics is hard. Yes. Zoological diseases, yes. Some people who work in zoos actually have like little cards that they carry like on their person in case they end up like in a hospital being like, hey, I work with these animals, so just a heads up, like you could look at these diseases if I like show up and can't talk to you or anything. That's crazy. Wow, red-tailed hawk blood transfusion sounds sick. Interesting that you bring up interviews. I'm not going to spoil anything, but stay tuned. Turkeys are crazy birds. They're beautiful. Solid, sturdy birds. You're gonna interview a bird? My dream. Yeah, turkeys be a lot. Everything is political, so we do toe a fine line. It's true. Aside from vultures, what's my favorite bird? Probably crested caracaras. Secretary birds are awesome. Love them. BOP expansion is big news. I also love cats. Yes. 'Tis true. I also, in terms of birds, love osprey. Love them. Osprey are pretty sick. We did not see any osprey in Scotland. I also love pigeons. I've never worked with big cats. Cassie is the biggest cat I've ever worked with. Love hummingbirds. They are so cool. We could do a long talk about hummingbirds. What's the most cat-like bird? I would say owls. Hummingbirds are crazy. They're super violent little birds. And I love that for them. Which ambassador have you seen the most change, less improvement in since working at Alveus? I don't know. I don't know. I think you could make an argument for the donks, but like since I got here, I think you could also make an argument for Tico and Miley. If you were going to Hogwarts, which animal would you bring with you? It would be a bird. Or it would be a cat. It might be a cat. Cats are a little bit less work, depending on a lot of things. Yeah, Noli's doing great. Sully, A+ boy. You can, I probably won't know the answer. I don't know much about kangaroos. I do have a computer and we can Google it, but... Yeah, birds are just a little bit more unique needs. But if my bird was trained to just fly and go out and take care of itself and then just come back, that would be fine. But also, in that case, why would I have him or them? Like, they could just live out there. So a cat makes more sense in my noggin. I'm also excited for Tico and Miley to do some flight training. I have seen great horned owl plumicorns. Yes. The marms, when they arrived, I know we talked a little bit. At one point, we talked about, I think it was during the vet chat that we had with Connor, where we talked about what happened with the marms when they came in. Appa had very little use of his back legs, and we did not know for sure how much he would recover. I thought you made up plumicorns. No, they're really called plumicorns. And we didn't know how much mobility he would recover. So that's why they were kept in rehab for the length of time that they were, and why we didn't really know enclosure-wise what their needs would be, because we just didn't know what Appa would be capable of. Keep your cats inside. Yes, that is my opinion. Indoor cats, it's just safer. It's safer for your cats. It's safer for the wildlife around your home. And so there was supplements involved, and really it was just getting them on a better diet. Momo had severe dental disease. He had many of his teeth pulled, and energy-wise, obviously, you know, they were pretty kind of just stationary little guys for a little while. And yeah, his back legs obviously recovered. I'd have to look up kangaroos and quality of life with human care in the cold. I don't know. Stationary guys said scream. Yeah. They did arrive at Alveus together. They did live together. They were malnourished. Appa was thinner than Momo. Appa only weighed about 265 grams when they arrived. He currently weighs over 400 grams. Momo is about the same weight or close to it. He's in the neighborhood of the same weight. They were, at the time, Momo was born in 2018 and Appa in 2020, so they were 4 and 2 at the time. And there's no way for us to know, as you guys have probably, you know, surmised over the last little bit with Momo dropping weight, we don't know how much how much their diet, as they went through those, you know, those pivotal developmental years, what kind of impact that's going to have on them as they get older. So, hoping for the best, but obviously they recovered to a point where they are now, and they're very capable of moving about, and Appa looks great, and Momo's recovering from whatever his little bout was, and he's eating well again. But yeah, it was, we never had any doubts that they were going to, like, survive. But definitely, you know, there was concern about their mobility and what kind of care they were going to need as a result. Cardin, I'm glad that Siren made your day so many times. She made my day too. Do I have any websites and articles? Sometimes I post them at the end of my presentations just on like a little reference slide, and I link the articles. But usually I just go into Google Scholar and I just find articles from journals that I trust. And then I look for that information elsewhere and try to confirm that it's in more than one place. And it's been a long time since I've researched things seriously, so it stresses me out every time. JSTOR! Yes. It's been a long time. EBSCO. Oh my god. Yeah, access to journals for sure. We've summoned the nerds. They're always here. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've written a paper, and I don't miss it at all. So, yay. All those who are pleasure in class, pleasure to have in class. Yep, that was me. I went to culinary school to avoid writing papers. That's sick. And now you get to make tasty food. Pleasure to have, but didn't live up to potential. No. Do you think you would ever write a paper again? I hope not. I will be doing a talk on moose. Yes. People don't know what pens are? What are you talking about? I love writing papers. That's crazy. I love discussing topics that I would write about. Does that make sense? I love intellectual discussions. I wrote an 18-page paper when I was in college on shoot gravitropism, which is just a fancy way of saying that plants grow towards a light source. And ever since then, I've hated writing papers. Coyote's cool topic for sure. Having to turn one sentences to 5 pages is actual torment. Yeah, I think that page requirements were just rude. Because I think if I can say it in less, you should let me. Because that's really a lot of what we learned, isn't it, in college? Was just how do I make this topic that I could talk about in 5 pages, 15 pages longer? And we don't need that skill. I don't need that skill. So anyway. That's how I feel about it. Mm-hmm. Ernesty, that's so funny. Oh my gosh. Oh, minoring in math, man. Oof. Chat, do we feel like we've reached a good place today? Any update on scuba diving? We're going scuba diving. I don't know if we'll have things working underwater, but that's the goal. Reed, there's a lot going on around Reed right now with off-season closure, but Reed's just cozy where he is. I would say he's probably like tucked into his little spots on the ground, not necessarily because he's hiding so much as because they're probably cooler and it's very, very hot during the day. Because I do know that that boy gets up and he runs, and he looks incredibly whimsical, dashing through all of the grasses and plants and stuff growing up in there. I'm very excited for Lindsay's talk. I get excited about all of the animal care staff chats. I think they're super fun. And I love learning. Ernesty, I'm glad you enjoyed the time here. I'm here every Wednesday. Except for the last one of this month, when I will be in Florida. But you'll probably still see us. We'll probably still stream at some point. Ben's doing okay. He did really well yesterday at the vet, guys. He did really well. He did really well in the kennel. He did really well on the drive out to the vet. He did well under sedation. He did have some pretty impressive bruising. I think you guys might have seen it yesterday. So the vet believes that he got bit or stung by something. I did give him a kiss on the forehead from Shruti. She asked me to do that, so I did give him a little kiss on his forehead. And I said, "This is from Shruti. She loves you." Yeah, he had some pretty impressive bruising. When Connor examined him a few days ago, he was very swollen in his right shoulder. So we wanted to take him in. We did start him on antibiotics when we noticed the swelling in his shoulder. And his limp did improve, you guys saw. It wasn't quite as severe, but we still wanted to take him in. We've kind of been itching for a reason to take Finn to the vet anyway, with his arthritis getting worse earlier this year, or seemingly getting worse, the stiffness in his legs that you guys have seen. So we kind of just took advantage and said, hey, you know what, we'd like to get some radiographs on him. We'd like to see everything so we know what we're dealing with, and so we can monitor it as it changes, as he gets older. So we did his x-rays, and she shaved that spot, which you guys can also see. He's shaved, he's a little goofy, but it allows us easier access to seeing that bruise. The swelling and the inflammation had gone down a ton, so we do think the antibiotics help, so he is still on those antibiotics. And is the vet that you use the same one that worked on Siren? So the vet, our primary vet is where we took him yesterday, and our primary vet is the one who originally diagnosed Siren. And she's incredible. We cannot say enough good things about her. Siren, after that initial diagnosis from our veterinarian, we did bring her back here, and she ended up at a couple of different emergency locations with more specialized. The last animal hospital that she spent at, she was with an avian specialist. But our vet diagnosed her with the heart disease. So, Fen. It just is. Whatever happens. I call him Finnegan sometimes. Finnegan Fox. They did get the siren box, yes. I wasn't there. I wanted to be. But I assume they loved them. Benjamin, yep. How generic is your vet? So she is she's an exotic veterinarian. So she has a tremendous amount of knowledge. She knows a lot about parrots. She did do like an avian course. But she is the exotic vet, so I don't know what further like certification she has. But anytime we are looking to acquire an ambassador, we reach out to her ahead of time to make sure that she's comfortable treating them, because we want to make sure that we have a veterinarian that will see those animals. And she is incredible with reaching out to places to acquire more information or reaching out to specialists. She's incredibly well connected that way. She knows a tremendous amount. Will the vet ever make an appearance for Animal Care Talks? Maybe someday. Yeah, she loves learning. And she loves wildlife. She does a lot for a lot of places. She has probably no spare time. Also probably works too much. Most veterinarians don't become veterinarians to be on live streams, so. Yeah. But we love her. She is so busy. Dr. Julie is amazing. Oh. Nature, I'm sorry about your baby. The vets that took care of Siren, truly, it was wild that they were so accommodating. And where Siren ended up, that last place that she was also very willing to have her on cam. She just wasn't there long enough. I love my denim shirt, thank you. It's a men's denim shirt. I hate women's shirts. I have, yeah. Found the topic suggestions helpful, for sure. What's my new fave uniform piece? I got mostly the same stuff that I've always worn, chat, so this is probably my favorite, like, new piece. I think I'm probably, yeah, women's shirts and shoulders. It never works for me. The cookbook that I use is 30 and 30 by Sophie McPhee. Yeah, my shoulders don't fit into women's shirts. It's unreasonable. Why are women's shirts always so see-through? It's true. Also, why are the buttons different? Like, men's shirts, the buttons are on the right, and women's, they're on the left sometimes. I don't know, it confuses me. It's whatever. Also, sometimes the buttons on women's shirts snap. I hate that. I don't want that. No. Yeah, the necklines, hate them. Surely we could change that by now, though. I'm not out here buttoning anybody's shirts except my own. Jeez. The necklines are also awful. It's true. But yeah, so most of my other pieces, though, are the same. So I got more of the sun shirts because mine are old, and I got a new sweatshirt because mine doesn't say staff on the back currently. So. From a time when women required assistance to get their crazy clothes on, perhaps those buttons were necessary because most people are right-handed. So if you have a right-handed person putting your clothes on you, it's easier for them to have like your more dexterous, right? It's like most scissors are for right-handed people and etc. And then it got to a point where, I don't know, women were dressing their husbands. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Pick a side and give us all normal buttons. Yeah, now I just buy men's clothes. It does sound like a rabbit hole. Girls carrying things. Next educational stream, buttons. Let's all write a paper on shirts. Chat, would you like homework? I probably wouldn't choose a hoodie most of the time, but here I wear hoodies when it's cold, and usually when it's cold, it's windy, and I like being able to pull a hood when I'm cold, because if I can keep my neck warm, usually I can stay warm. The rabbit hole that is women's pant sizes. Get out of here. Testing's already real. What's the point of a half zip? I don't know, but I hate full zips. I don't know. What the freak is a size 0? True story. Not me. Doesn't matter what size the size 0 is, doesn't matter what measurements it is, it's not me. Standard sizing would be nice. For real. The 00, the child size clothing. I can't say that. Some people are very, very tiny. Why we couldn't start at a normal size and not a 00 or a 000. Some people are very tiny though. Again, not me. But it is like wild to like go to a store and you find a pair of pants that you like and you're like, okay, well, I'm usually this size, but let me get plus or minus 3 sizes and take 7 pairs of pants to the dressing room and be like, maybe one of them will fit. That's how I do pant shopping, which is why I don't often buy new pants. And I just get sweatpants. And then you're tired because you try on, you're like, I like 3 pairs of pants. So you try on 21 pairs of pants to maybe purchase 1 pair if you're lucky. Oh, Disability Pride Month for all of us differently abled. Happy Disability Pride Month. Yeah, pant shopping is the worst. Case is here. Oh, Donkus, I didn't even think about that, but you're right. I feel like I'm a very average size. Like when I go to thrift stores, I feel like I don't often find things in my size. I'm jealous of people that thrift successfully. I'm either bad at it or, like I said, I'm just a very average size person. And other people get to the good stuff first. Look, bras are a whole different talk. If anybody has a great recommendation for a sports bra, send it my way. Like a lightweight sports bra that I won't die in. Pants are just hard. Shirts are hard for me too. My shoulders are really broad, but my rib cage is not. So, as a 5'7" male, I sometimes go to the kids' shoe section. Desperate times. Lindsay's the same way. Lindsay's got super tiny feet. I appreciate these recommendations. I finally bought jeans that fit this year. Bought a different pair in the same size without trying them on, and they're way too small. Yeah, love that. When you're like, oh, this company, surely they all fit the same way. No. No. Carrot is so cool. I try my best to move away from fast fashion as well. Zorath, not the calf! I tried on a pair of pants in Colombia once and I couldn't get it over my calf. Like a pair of hiking pants. Could not get them over my calf. That's crazy. What? I feel like my calves are very normal size calves. Wide feet. I recently switched to barefoot shoes, and I've probably been wearing them now for over a year, probably a year and a half now. And when I went to go to Ireland, I wanted a cheap pair of rainproof, like waterproof boots, because my boots were really old, and I was like, there's 0% chance these are waterproof at this point. So I tried to just go find a pair, and my feet would not fit in anything. I tried on a pair of boots. I cannot remember, they were Ultras, because they're 0 drop, but they still have a lot of cushion, and I was like, this is way too bouncy, first of all. I love my barefoot shoes, but also, like, they were nowhere near wide enough. Like the toe box, like, I switched to the men's shoe, and the toe box was too narrow in the men's shoe for my foot. I've never, ever been a person who shopped for wides in my life until I started regularly wearing the Vivos. And my feet have definitely gotten wider because they are just doing what feet be doing in my shoes. And excellent. This segment just got me through patching 3 small holes in my pants. That's great. Love that for you. So yeah, so now my feet I just won't try to find regular shoes that are not Vivos. Altras, Ultras. Yeah. But it was so funny because I was like, these are really bouncy. And he was like, those aren't that bouncy. And I was like, they're very bouncy. And he was like, you could never ever last in like a Hoka or something like that. So. I've just been wearing flat skate shoes my whole life. You and my older brother. I don't know what I tried. I just know that I like feeling the ground, and my Vivos are just like, I'm just very dedicated to them at this point. Very confident in saying that I would probably not like Hokas. But it's personal preference. Like because I had plantar fasciitis and I was looking for something to help me with it. And I don't think the shoes made the difference for me. I think the difference for me was the balance work and yoga. And strengthening the muscles in my foot. But now I will never wear anything else. But some people are like, if you have plantar fasciitis, you cannot wear a barefoot shoe because you're going to destroy your foot. So they worked for me with what I was doing, I think, also at the time. But also, I would not say that they would be for everybody by any stretch of the imagination. So. Yeah, I exclusively wear my Vivos at this point. I try really, in a perfect world, I would go to yoga 3 days a week. In a perfect world, I'd go to yoga more than 3 days a week, but my goal is always 3, but right now I lose one of my favorite classes to Spanish. And then the past little bit has been a pretty chaotic time, so I haven't been in a while. Bumble! Thank you for continuing your sub. Yeah, inserts are also a good option if you have like plantar fasciitis. I know for me too, when I had my plantar fasciitis in the beginning, I had a pair of Birkenstock sandals that I had for strictly wearing inside to support my arch. Now with my foot, the work that I've done on my feet, they hurt if I wear them for too long. So like I actually don't wear them anymore now at all. Vivo also has a website called Revivo, where some of their shoes, because you can sell them back and they'll resole them and stuff, and some of them are cheaper. I have never tried Pilates, although I do like weirdly just enjoy, like I'm a weird kind of like I just like working out like and feeling like I worked out, so I'm sure I would like enjoy Pilates, but also like I won't pay for it. So yeah, look on Revivo. That's where I first purchased my first Vivos because I didn't want to spend the money off the get-go and hate them. And now it's all I wear. Pilates always makes me think of Hilary Duff. She's super into it. Yeah, Pilates is also one of those things where like the history of it is a little bit convoluted, and I feel like it's kind of been co-opted a little bit. So I have some feelings. It's not a topic for Alveus though. Maybe I'll talk about it on stream for me and Connor someday. Oh, that's cool. I would love to get back into weightlifting as well. It's on my list of things to do. Yeah, shoes are super expensive, and it is super annoying. Maintenance Phase does have a killer episode on Pilates history, chat, if you're interested. It is so good. It's where my big feelings started. What kind of Vivos do you wear? I don't know. These ones? These ones? I have boots. These ones are a little bit more narrow than some of my other Vivos, but they're fine for my feet. So. I would not complain if Vivo was like, hey. I'd be like, that's sick. Give me shoes. Echo Winter Fox, thank you for the sub. And we're so glad you're here. We beat the fire out of our shoes here. The ground here is unforgiving, and I'm in my shoes, I mean, typically, like when we're doing animal care, I'm in my shoes for 12 hours a day, outside in the 100-degree heat, on the hard ground. Shoes take a beating here. And like my running shoes, when you're running, I mean, you're putting hundreds of miles on your shoes a week if you're a serious runner. So you can do a lot of damage to your feet if you're not replacing your shoes. So I try to hold on to my shoes for at least a year. Bumblebee, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. If I can get a year out of my boots, I'm pretty stoked. And very often, as long as it's dry, even if there's a ton of holes in them, I'm still wearing them. Yeah, worn out running shoes can be really dangerous. Your feet are your foundation, guys. Don't mess around with them. Shoes die when I say they die. Yeah, you know. If I was running, I would be very serious about my shoes. Yeah, compression socks, yeah. The only expensive things he will buy are the things that go between you and the ground, chair, shoes, bed. That's fair. I have not gotten a bicycle yet. I should, though. I really should. Oh, Achilles tendonitis. I'm so sorry. My brother used to duct tape his shoes. I've seen it. I've seen it happen. Yeah. Running is no joke. Lyndon, where? Ugh, marching band. She got the duct tape shoes. Desperate times, man. Big Booty Mix is my new favorite soundtrack. Oh, man. Please be careful. Marching band in Houston, Texas sounds like a nightmare. Chat, it's been a long time. We're not even talking about animal stuff anymore. Okay, look. All right, chat. I'm sending you on your way because we have veered off of fireworks for quite some time now. And it's been fun. It's true. It has. But I'm going to call Connor and see where he's at and see if he's ready to take you back. But it was fun. I have to go do work. Hello, are you ready for chat?
If you can stall for minutes, the house will be good.
If I can what?
Stall for 10 more minutes, the house will be
10 more minutes. Okay. We've stopped talking about animal things and I feel bad. We're just talking about clothes and shoes now. Yeah. But as long as that doesn't matter, I can talk for 10 more minutes. Okay. That's very nice. It's very kind. Okay. Love you. Bye. All right, 10 more minutes, chat. Back. That's good. That was pretty funny, that timing. I was just like, 10 more minutes, what do you want to talk about? And then no one was there. What am I looking forward to with Alveus? Birds. All things birds. I'm excited to get the crows moved. I'm excited for Kasi to have his first official physical. He's doing so well with his kennel. Where and what did you study, and how do I get a job like yours? I studied biology in college, and then I just went out and found places where I could volunteer. And unfortunately, it was a time where it was a little bit easier to do that money-wise. I always recommend, depending on what you want to do and in what capacity you want to work in animal care or conservation, a degree can be helpful. There's a lot of options for school now in terms of conservation biology or ecology and zoology and things like that. Degree is not essential. It's not necessary. It just depends on which doors you want open for you. Volunteering and getting experience is really one of the best things that you can do. So just getting out there and proving that you're willing to work. People are gonna be excited to talk to you about what they do, and there's a lot of animal places out there that need help. Have you had non-animal jobs? Yes, my first job right out of college was I worked at the post office for a year and a half. I was a mail processor. I worked with the big machines that sort mail overnight. And I saved up money, and then I moved to Alaska. If it were ethical, what animal would you want to have as a pet? Honestly, I just really love my cats. Why Alaska? I had a friend that was out there, and she was like, you want to come hang out for a bit and just see, like kind of get away from your life and figure out what you want to do? And I said, sure. Yeah, I worked on DBCS machines. We processed like hundreds of thousands of pieces of mail a night. Kept me busy. Alleged Panda, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. I was born in New York and Connor was born in Georgia. Alaska is so beautiful. Connor and I loved it there so much. We really did. It was hard to leave. Not New York City, yeah, upstate New York. A video on the mail filing system? Yeah, those machines are pretty wild. I did grow up in upstate New York, yeah. I left when I was 23. We met in Alaska. Yes. I was in Alaska for just over a year. Texas would not be my first choice of places to live. I would move back to Alaska. When are you going to move to Ireland? Someday. How do you like living on site? I do like living on site. It's very nice. I like that I can come up here and take things away from Finn when he eats things that he shouldn't, and it does not take long to do so. It's very, very satisfying. What's the biggest misconception about living in Alaska? Well, I don't know. I don't know if I lived there long enough or like lived in the right place. I will say Alaska's really expensive. My whole family's from Schenectady, New York. That's where I grew up. Well, technically across the bridge. I grew up in Scotia, New York. I'm a little sad that I'm going to lose my big, nice, beautiful fields, but it's okay. It makes the most sense. I hope I would come back as one of my cats. Can you be a conservationist and an artist? Absolutely. Rabies. The animals where rabies is a concern do get vaccinated. But I mean, there are certainly things that, like for example, the whole screwworm thing coming up. That's a risk for all of them. All of our the combinations of letters in Schenectady should be illegal. I have seen many videos of people trying to pronounce the word Schenectady, and it makes me laugh every time. I really enjoyed touring the place you and Connor worked together in Alaska. Oh yeah, AWCC is it's a really special place. I have a lot of feelings about Las Vegas. None of them are positive. I'm sure the people who are there, some of them at least, are nice. My opinions on Vegas itself does not reflect the people who grew up there. Do I have a favorite bug? Oh, I don't know. Is it weird having so many people being curious about your life? I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, you know. I think it's one of those things where, like, it's strange to me because, like, your life never seems particularly like my life has just been my life. But most people don't have stories about paragliding with vultures. So I understand that there are some things that are what are normal to me are not normal. So I'm happy to share the animal stories. Do I get recognized often? No. No. I did paraglide with vultures, yeah. Yeah, I think that's also just one of those things, like, people ask me a lot how I got into this field, and I think a lot of people are just like, it kind of just happened to me. I didn't go out looking for a lot of it. I went out to Alaska to just give myself some space, and I ended up volunteering at the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center, and that was where I really was like, hey, maybe I could do this. Like, maybe I could talk about animals for a living. And that's how I ended up in Nepal. That's where I fell in love with vultures. If you had asked me if I would have thought one day that I would be just sitting in front of a screen talking to like 1,000 people about how much I love vultures and why I love them and why everybody else should, I would have been like, that's weird. Why? So, I think it's just one of those things where, for especially people who are here, knowing that, you know, it can happen organically like that, it's a neat thing to be able to talk about. I did see the video of the grizzly and that woman and her dog. Man, she is nerves of steel. She was prepared. Were you a relationship-oriented person before Connor? No. But yeah, I don't know. Connor's the only relationship I've ever had. So I was really particular about my time. And I didn't want to waste it with wrong people. So yeah, all you could think about was me saying, "Hey, bear." Yep. Speaking of, I was just talking about you. I have no idea. Chat, was that 10 minutes or over? More than. But I didn't time it, so. I don't know. He said they're saying only 5.
5 minutes over.
Maybe.
Okay, not bad. We ended up doing a little bit more than I thought.
You crushed it. You're getting a few saying it has been exactly 10, 12, 13. Time is an illusion. It's a construct. It was 10 minutes. Am I sending them your way?
I'll steal them from you.
Okay.
Alright. Thank you. Say bye.
Thank you. Bye. He's gonna steal you. Bye, chat. It's been fun. Volume down, guys. See you tonight. Oh no, it's not switching. What a time.